What's your topic?
We're going to talk how to effectively onboard a manager.
Okay.
And this is very, you've gone through this, I've gone through this recently. This is very much open-ended. I'm sorry I'm not more prepared, but I think it's going to be a fruitful conversation. I've seen some things that are wildly wrong, and I've seen some things that we are working on that I love. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, well, let's hear it.
Let's do it.
Imagine a perfect world where you can build a restaurant, open the doors, and make loads of money. Unfortunately, those days are over. It takes great leadership, hard work, and long hours to operate a successful restaurant. Together, we can make it happen. This is Restaurantopia.
Hire them and then just abandon them and go focus on another problem.
Yes.
That's how show's over.
That happened to me in my first management job.
Okay.
I've talked about it on this pod before.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hired me. 3 days later, the owners went on vacation and left me alone at the store. Half my staff quit. Yeah. I was carrying out all these objectives, the to-do list we talked about my first day or two, and
they loved it.
They said, work on this when we're gone, and I barely knew how to operate the POS, I barely knew names, and I was making changes to the organization, and I can tell you how that went. So I learned a very valuable lesson at 26 years old.
There you go.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
What should an operator do? We're seeing a lot of turnover. We're seeing just changes in the industry where people are short-staffed or they lose somebody, but you're fortunate enough to bring someone on board. What do you do?
Yeah, you got someone on board. I would say temper your expectations out of the gate, right? That's the biggest mistake is you need a life preserver. You're out flailing around without managers. You're working 100 hours a week. You hire someone, then what do?
Yeah.
You put too much on them too quick.
Yep.
Always. And I've seen this happen time and time again. Have you ever been hired as a manager in an operation? I know Dave has, but he's off mic. But
I have not, no.
No, not in operations. It's drinking from a fire hose, right?
Okay.
And I know you have some experience in the industry and you've learned, whether it's an acquisition or something like that, you're trying to learn everything all at once. How comfortable is that process? How effective is that process?
It's overwhelming.
Of course it is. And then I would argue it probably takes you a little bit longer down the road to learn the skill set you need to do the job effectively, right? So what I've seen recently, what I absolutely love is an organization that I'm close with was hiring a kitchen manager. And they determined that the best move would be to hire this person in, and they actually went to an hourly rate. I could argue against that or not against that or whatever the case may be. But they said, here's the offer letter. We're going to bring you on for 4 weeks at an hourly rate of this rate. Your only responsibilities for that time period are to learn as the kitchen manager. Your only responsibilities are to learn the organization and learn every station in the kitchen for the first 4 weeks. Nothing else.
Okay.
No POS, no closing duties, no opening duties, no nothing, right? Think about the foundation that person now has after 4 weeks.
Yeah. It's almost like you're taking that position and you're hiring within because you're giving them the groundwork, you're giving them the kind of the lay of the land and the training wheels as they assimilate to the operation.
Yeah. I agree, and I absolutely love that. That's why I want to bring it up here because it's the move. And I know 4 weeks could be a painful process, but the fact is at least you get some line coverage in this instance or dining room coverage. You still get coverage from an expert, right? They're just not an expert of your domain. So you're not relying them on for all 15 things that you need, just the 5 things.
Yeah.
And then for them what it does is it gives them bite-sized chunks that are easily digestible.
Yep.
So what they do is they do the task and then they master it. Then they move on to the next station, do the task, then they master it, right? And then it's very, very succinct in its steps. And then by the time they're through the kitchen or through the dining room, they know every station, they know every employee, they know the organization now from the inside out. Now when you start teaching them other stuff, like whether it's management capabilities or duties, maybe again the POS or closing stuff, opening stuff, master cleaning schedules, they're much more apt to adapt, retain, and act on that stuff. I would say exponentially better, right? And as I worked through that, again, I started, hearkening back to my days as in operations as a manager. And when you get hired, the expectations are sky high. It's a very high pressure situation. You're burning the people out before they even start, right? And then what happens is you teach them 20 things simultaneously. And do you think they remember all those things or are effective all those things? No, absolutely not. And then you're dealing with the headache of mistakes, right?
It's information overload. To me, it's one of those things where I think with any organization, turnover is so rampant, but also just counterproductive, and it's so dangerous to your organization's success. But to think that someone who is going to be with your organization for a long time is going to learn everything in the first 2 days is ridiculous.
Yeah, but it happens.
No, I think, but we all have this unrealistic expectation as to someone's ability to consume data and learn.
Yeah.
When it's, it's uncomfortable, it's new. There's a lot of things that that person has to digest just to get it the first time, let alone learn it.
That's exactly right. And there's some people that are fast learners and some people aren't. I feel that I'm a pretty slow learner. I feel that when I get into a situation, it takes me a minute to latch on, but typically when I latch on, I really latch on. And I think that's where my advantage comes into play. Is long term, I think I fare pretty well, right? But initially, that onset, I'm not great. I'm not a rock star in that thing. I get in my head, I get overwhelmed easy, I get confused, I got to sort it out, I get it on paper.
I get distracted.
100%.
Like if someone's not interesting, or they're not delivering the message well, or they don't have a full grasp of the information, like I'm gonna zone out. I'm gonna think about other things.
That's
like,
so true.
Or if they're going too slow, even if their cadence is is off. So really, that training, that onboarding is so critical. But you also, your expectations and how you feel about that person's ability to consume that data is critical. Yeah,
no doubt. And listen, even if you're behind the hiring curve, right? You're behind the 8 ball and you're urgent. If you don't set the stage properly, you're not going to sustain, right? So you really pick this person out. You finally got someone that you love. You got them to sign on, and then you're just going to throw them to the wolves, the old baptism by fire.
Yeah, which is horrible. But also go to your team and say, all right, I know we're understaffed. I brought this new player on. They're going to pick up some of the slack. However, we got to, as a team here, educate this person, make sure that their transition is good so they don't leave us in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, and here's the best part, too. And you talk about the teams. That was my second talking point, was this organization I'm talking about specifically has been around for a while. Okay. Really solid core culture. Like, the place isn't in bad shape at all, right? The core players have been there for a long time. If you ask every one of them, they think they should be the manager, the next manager up, right?
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this?
Okay.
And so when you hire this person in...
I see where you're going with this, yes.
You hire him as a manager. How do you think those other people feel?
I mean, the daggers are out. Did you switch to all plastic kitchen knives? Like, how?
Yeah, that's exactly right. To prevent the damage, call my insurance company up the policy, that sort of thing, right? So what it comes down to is you don't want to shock this culture. Like, you want these core players.
Yeah.
But it's hard for them to intellectualize that they wouldn't be the next candidate up. And these players, they're good, and maybe some of them are interested, some of them take an initiative. Maybe some of them aren't just able.
Yeah.
That doesn't make them an invaluable asset. You don't want to lose those people either.
No.
So when I look at this model, it's like, damn, like, you mean I could hire this person in as a manager? I don't have to necessarily broadcast them as being the next manager. We have this 4-week, 6-week, 8-week buffer period now where they have an opportunity to prove themselves.
Acclimate to the system, know everyone's name, get all the little stuff down.
And here's the deal. If you hired the right person, they're going to be more capable, most likely, than the rest of those people. And they're going to prove it within the first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So then when that person is announced as a manager, all of a sudden the pushback you get from your core staff is not nearly as evident or applicable, because the proof's in the pudding. You saw it, and they worked beside this person. They've grown bonds with this person. Inevitably, if it's the right person, they will respect this person. They will command the respect through their actions, how hard they work, how fast, how quickly they acclimate, and their expertise will be apparent. Before too long, your staff will be happy to be led by them. But I can promise you, when you hire a new manager above people's heads, the water cooler talk's a little bit different, right? Not that we have water coolers in restaurants, but as the adage stands. I've been there before. Why did this person get hired? Why didn't I get considered? And I'm angry. And it takes me...
you were considered, and we passed over you intentionally because your performance is...
That is the cold-hearted truth. I wasn't ready in those situations, but for me to admit that, not going to happen. I was a prideful young man. I'm not going to tell you that I have ineptitudes, right? It's not the case. The case is that I got slighted. I got wronged. Now, if you bring that person in, and they start on the entry-level stations and just kick ass all the way through, I don't have that much of an argument anymore.
No, it's a meritocracy. The best player gets promoted.
I love that, man. I love that. And I think this approach was really revolutionary for me, and that's why I want to bring it to you guys' attention today. We talked about in episode 97 how to onboard, or how a manager should start their job and how they should onboard. And we talked about just learning names and the basic stuff, but we didn't talk about it from the operator perspective. And I saw this ingenuity, and I thought it was just too smart not to bring it to the table. It was like a light bulb went off. It's like, oh my God, I wish I would have seen this happen so many more times when I was in the industry, and I hope to see it more often because it seems like a very pragmatic way to go about things. And then also, too, listen, after that 4-week period, if that person didn't put up, and all of a sudden they're the wrong person, Well, you didn't give them a key to your restaurant yet.
Yes.
You didn't put them on salary yet. You didn't apply for the benefit. You didn't do all that stuff. So there's like that kind of mingling period before you commit, right? I don't know if you've ever been through that before, but it's hard on day one of an interview. You just met the person. You hired them maybe day 3 after meeting them. Here's the keys to my operation. Here's the heart and soul of my livelihood.
Yeah,
You just met them.
Here's the login to the payroll system.
Everything.
Like, it's crazy.
Here's the safe combination,
Yeah.
right? All of that stuff. You just met the person 3 days ago. So this operation has now created this ideal buffering system that I can't get over, especially what we talked about in the world of fast-paced turnover.
Yeah.
You're meeting new people, you're hiring new people, it's come and go, there's a turnstile.
Yeah.
My God, isn't it nice to have that 4-week period to establish trust in a relationship? I mean, 4 weeks is still small,
Yeah,
but it's
no.
a hell of a lot better than 2 days.
I love it. Very cool, Anthony. Great topic. So relevant to just kind of improve how operators perform and how their teams perform.
Yeah.
Onboarding is critical, and how you do it is vital to the success of your organization. So
No
thank
doubt,
you so
man.
much.
Yeah, listen, man. You got to walk on eggshells these days, don't you? You got to carefully acclimate people into the culture, make sure you don't upset the apple cart or whatever the case may be. And
Well, but putting systems in place that are built for long-term success is really key.
This is a high-quality pod. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Adios. Thank you for listening to Restaurantopia. The gratitude that we have for each and every one of you spending your precious time to listen to this podcast is immeasurable. Please make sure to tell a friend about this podcast. And also, if you have any feedback for us, visit us on restaurantopia.com and drop us a line. You can also subscribe on your favorite place to listen to podcasts. Thank you and have a great day.